Hey, how are you? Glad to have you here with me today. If you're still relying solely on client referrals or social media or ads to bring in your next project, you actually may be working way harder than you have to. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Pam Durkin, and this is the Six Figure Designer Podcast. And I'm called the Closing Coach for interior designers because I help designers close better business and get their referral machine rolling down the tracks so that you don't have to start chasing projects and wondering where is that next project coming from. So you've heard me talk all about vendor referrals and how great I think they are. But I know you're still heavily relying on the kindness of past clients and social media. And some of you are even paying money for ads. And here's the rub. It's really not working that great. You're, not getting those projects that you want. The phone's not ringing as consistently as you would like. And the cycle begins that you're like, I have to take this project because there's no other choices. There's nothing else happening in my business. And I know it feels like a huge leap to switch from let me just stay behind the screen and post something on Instagram or allow the phone to ring to being more visible, to maybe reaching out, to putting yourself out there, to picking up the phone, to even sending an email and putting yourself out there to make new contacts. I know that that can be extremely uncomfortable and difficult, but that's what I'm here to help you with. I actually have a rapid referrals challenge coming up on September 10th. And in that challenge, which is only just a couple hours, we're going to be helping you identify one key referral source. And then I'm going to be helping you craft the message to send out to that referral source. So it's not so scary and you can start moving the needle in your business to not sit back and wait, but to get those incredible referrals coming to your business. So I know that so many of you are worried about, well, what if I burn those bridges when I say no to a client referral? That is one of the biggest fears, is that a client that you love has sent somebody your way. They've taken that time to give your name out and give you a great recommendation. And then somebody calls you and they're really not the type of project that you're taking on at this stage in your business. And I know it feels really crazy and uncomfortable to be like, I don't want this project. It almost sounds selfish, right? Like, well, how could somebody turn away business? Well, I want to let you know that in the Luxury Client Academy, one of the things that you do get from me is that client audition. And part of the client audition is how to pre-qualify a client over the phone and then also sort of let them down gently if they're not a good fit for you. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. That comes after the Rapid Referrals Challenge. We do have the Luxury Client Academy where we work, you and I, hand in hand for 9 months on all these little sticky situations that come up in your interior design business that you're just like, I don't want to be a mean person or make them feel bad, but they're really not a good fit. We handle all of that. We figure out how you're going to let someone down in a way that feels really, really good. So I know a fear is, I don't want to burn those bridges from a great client who's now taken the time to send a referral my way. So that is definitely a real, fear. I totally get it. You don't want to upset your client, but we are still running a business here. And you know how much time and effort projects take, especially little projects. And we want to make sure that we're moving you in the right direction. Now, one of the things you also may be thinking is, well, how do I start that conversation with a vendor? Not just the same old, hi, how's it going? Or, hi there, do you have any projects or anything going on? No, that's not how we want to do it. But I know that you're like, what do I say? How do we even go about that? And we're going to get into a little bit of this in this episode. And then the third thing I'm sure you've said is, how many people do I really know? Do I know enough people? And I can almost guarantee you, you know way more people than you think. It's this that you haven't had a chance to sit down in a quiet space and sort of brainstorm all the people that you know through the varying degrees. You ever hear, like, what is it, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? You know a lot of more people than you think. It's just that you haven't had the opportunity to really sit down and put the work in to see who you know and why or why not they would be a good fit. Again, we're going to briefly go over this in the Rapid Referrals Challenge coming up September 10th, but this is the deep dive work that I do with you in the Luxury Client Academy. I mean, there's a million other things that we talk about your business and the profitability of your business and what you're offering, but we need to also know who do you know so that we can start that outreach in a meaningful way. So you already know that client referrals aren't enough, because if they were enough, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now. You wouldn't be looking into courses and reading books and talking to other designers and posting in all the Facebook groups, like, how do I get clients now that it's getting slow? Someone just recently messaged me and said, I have to tweak my marketing now because the economy is slowing. And that's a real issue for sure for many of you. And I totally get that. But we need to be thinking about, where's the best place for you to be? What are the best rooms for you to be in? And when you're just relying on those customer referrals, you're finding that it's not enough. It's not coming in steady enough. The opportunities are not the type and quality that you want. And of course, we just talked about before how you're feeling guilty if you really don't want to take the project. And I know so many of you, 9 times out of 10, you're taking the project because you feel bad. We don't want to be doing that anymore. We can do it in a very nice way, but we have to be really clear as to what you're looking for and why you're looking for that. So I want you to be stretching yourself and sort of moving towards this idea of, I need to be nurturing important relationships, key relationships, relationships that can work in both directions, that can be fruitful in and profitable in our interior design business. So the difference between client referrals and vendor referrals, I mean, you've heard me say it, but I'm going to say it again. Is that it's client referrals are passive, where you're waiting for them to, give your name out. You're waiting for them to pick up the phone. You're waiting for them to be in the right place where they're going to meet the person that they said might need a designer, right? That's all passive. I want you to be proactive. So I want you to feel a lot more in control. I want you to be going after and curating and crafting these clients that you want, the type of work that you want to do. So we go from passive to proactive when we start developing those vendor referral relationships. We go from quantity to quality. It doesn't matter if you get 10 calls if only one of those is good. I mean, of course, we love 10 calls. I'm not going to say we don't love 10 calls. And if you got 10 calls at once and one was good, that's still great. But how often are you getting 10 calls from client referrals? It could be 2 years. It could be a year. Whereas vendor referrals, we're getting quantity, higher quantity and higher quality. So we're not chasing and going after and meeting people that really aren't a good fit for us. And we're going to go, when we change to a vendor referral process, we go from that one-off to repeat to multiple. So one great vendor relationship is going to garner way more than just one opportunity. It's going to be multiple opportunities a year forever. for years to come, right? Until the relationship changes in some way. That is a way better return on your time investment than hoping that clients are going to send you maybe one or maybe two referrals. Now, I'm going to just caveat this all by, if this is working for you, if you're getting client referrals, first of all, I don't think you're listening to this episode, but if you are and it's working for you, then that is great. We love when things are working. We should notice when things are working. However, we also need to notice when things aren't working. So if you're struggling with this, it's time to shift and to try something else. So I know that that change is difficult. And also it's really hard. I'm sorry, my papers are making lots of noise. I know it's really hard when you're on your own little island trying to figure out what to do, or maybe you're crowdsourcing a question that you have about marketing. This is why coaching is so incredibly helpful, because not only can, we go over the big ideas and the steps and the scripts that you can implement in your business, but you and I can talk real time. I'm having a problem with this specific issue today. How do I handle that, right? And I know that a lot of you, if you're ready to shift to vendor referrals, and you should be, are wondering, like, where do I start? Do I start with the chamber? Do I start in Facebook groups? Do I start networking? Do I go to realtor events? Where do I go? And that is a great question. And one of the things that we can talk about in the Rapid Referrals Challenge, but I want you to be thinking about this ahead of time, is where do you have the most likelihood of running into people that can bring you business and that are doing work with the type of people that you want to work with? So that's a great question. I don't want you running around to every networking group in your area and every being online all the time. We're going to be very focused, and this is, again, deeper work in the Luxury Client Academy. We're going to be very focused as to where you spend your time, where your outreach is going to, how we're pinpointing certain people for a strategic reason, because we know that they have the same types of clients that you want, and there can be a really good symbiotic relationship there as you move into getting projects and working together. So I know that a lot of times designers get stuck on, where the heck do I even freaking start? Because I can do anything. I always say too many choices is actually bad. This is why in our design work, don't ever give clients multiple choices. That's my feeling for sure, is because too many choices is overwhelming, and then they think that there's something else better out there. When it comes to design presentations, I give them my very best choice. So if it's an entire color scheme for an entire house or selections, this is my best choice. These are my recommendations. And there's a reason for that. It's because people get easily overwhelmed. Have you, asked yourself, where do I start? What group do I go to? How do I start networking? It gets overwhelming. And then nothing happens because, quite honestly, you're like, I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. Where do I go? So I get it. And that keeps us stuck. And we don't want to stay stuck, right? Because when we're stuck, we revert back to old habits, and things that aren't working are still not working. And then we don't grow, and our businesses do not do well. So the other thing that I see as you're getting, maybe getting stuck, is, how do I effectively do this? How do I do this in a way that's meaningful, that makes sense, that moves the needle forward? And in the Rapid Referrals Challenge, I'm going to give you those tools to understand how you can do it most effectively. You may be wondering, like, I could be, being too picky when it's the type of clients that I want. Or what if somebody says, no, I don't need a designer. I don't want to work with a designer. I know that fear of being told no is incredibly debilitating for so many, because we're creatives, and we want people to like us. We want to help people, and we want to have, great relationships where people move forward. We hate when people say no or I don't like it, right? A lot of times designers honestly don't know or don't want to have a clear picture of who their ideal client is or what their ideal project looks like, because they're concerned. Are you concerned that this is going to limit you, that it's going to further limit the amount of possibilities and opportunities that come to you because you've now taken a stand as to types of projects that you want? I honestly think it's actually very liberating, and it also makes it extremely clear for the vendors that you're working for exactly what you're looking for. And that makes it a lot more, it just like makes it a lot easier. And it also makes you more memorable because they know exactly what you're looking for. And sometimes you just don't think you have enough connections. I already, talked about this just a few minutes ago, but I don't think that's the case. I know that you know a lot of people. You just may not have sat down and written it all out. And this is the deep work that we do in the Luxury Client Academy, because we want you to increasingly every month be growing your network. So I don't want you to be waiting. I want you to be building every month that network so that it grows and grows and grows. Because once you have, ever see that, what is that old commercial? They told two friends, and so on and so on and so on. This is how it works. We get our core group or whatever the number of people is, and then we start moving out from there, and we just keep connecting the dots. We keep picking up the breadcrumbs to increase your network and your visibility. So every designer that I work with has many more resources and connections than they ever realize. And I give you all those templates on how to reach out to people, how to figure out who to talk to. I do all that. I give you that clarity. Now, this is in the Luxury Client Academy, but you're going to get a sneak peek into this in the Rapid Referrals Challenge that's coming up September 10th, because we're going to be talking about, your different spheres of influence. So you're definitely going to be getting the beginnings of how to figure out who all your connections are and ideas on who to reach out to. And of course, in the challenge, we're going to be picking one person that you can reach out to that day while we're in the challenge. So be sure to sign up. The link's going to be in the show notes. So we're calling this the Rapid Referrals Challenge, but it's really a referral machine, because once we start feeding opportunities into the machine, it just keeps rolling and rolling. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is what the work that we do over the 9 months together is. We continue to not only grow your network, but then figure out who your ideal client is, what services are you offering. So when you're talking to these referral sources, you know exactly the type of project you're looking for, the type of client you're looking for, and you can very succinctly and confidently talk about your services and where they start and where they fit. So there's a lot of work that happens over the 9 months that we work together, because I'm giving you all the foundational tools to be able to grow your business over the next 9 months and then for years to come beyond that. So in my referral machine process, there's 3 key components. And again, we'll be going over these in detail in the Rapid Referrals Challenge, but I want to give you those today so that you can start thinking about who these people are in your own world. So of course, the who is your dream client? What does your dream project look like? And then what vendors do you have in your sphere, in your world, who are already working with those types of people? Then we're going to move on to the what. So what is your highest contact? Which one has the highest value that you can start with? Who is the best person that could give you a referral or would be willing to give you a referral as soon as possible, because we want to, give you that quick win for the Rapid Referrals Challenge. So who is that person? Who's the person that knows you the best? And in the challenge, I'm going to give you the tools and the scripts so you can learn what to say and how to say it so that you're going to get a response from them. That is, one of the things that we all deal with right now is that, we send out emails or phone calls and it just kind of goes into the void and we never hear anything back. Well, we're going to craft these messages in such a way that it's very compelling for them to want to reach out to you and continue that conversation and talk about what's going on and what kind of clients they have that could be working with you. And then the now. So now we're going to make sure, the third part is we're going to make sure that when you get that call for a project, that you can very succinctly and easily talk about the services that you offer, where they start, what kind of client you're looking for, what kind of project you're looking for, so that it's easy for them to refer you. And then subsequently keeping in touch. That is a huge, huge part of this, is what's the ongoing. So we talked about in the beginning how you're going to have this list that's going to continue to grow. We are going to be keeping in touch all the time, because if you've ever had a situation where you needed a vendor and then next thing you know, you get an email from somebody offering the service that you need, you're literally like picking up the phone, because we've made that easy, because that person has a need and we're filling it right away. So we want to keep you in front of them so that you can continue to stay top of mind. And what we're going to do in the Luxury Client Academy, it's rinse, repeat, refine. Again, what did we learn? What did somebody say to us that we went, oh, that's something I never thought of before? There's so many opportunities, not only to build relationships, but for content, so that our content lands with the right people as well, based on these great conversations that we have. So it's not a one-time, one and done, right? It's a continual process. So one of the things that I see so many designers doing is they're not really understanding what's working and what's not working. So we need to be going through and figuring out, if you're doing ads and you're not getting any opportunities, if you're spending hours and hours on social media and you're not getting any inquiries, or the inquiries you're getting are not a good fit, if you've redone your entire website, but there's nobody filling out the form, then we have to change the approach. We have to be thinking, what is going to work now? And I built my entire business on vendor referrals. And, we're in our 25th year this year of me owning my own business. I'm 30 years as a designer. So it works, and it works really, really well. So I want you to be thinking about what's not working and how do we change that approach. And I think vendor referrals is the way for you to go. The other challenge that I see is you're being too vague on what you're offering, how long things take, what kind of projects you're looking for, that ideal client. And we kind of touched on that earlier, but what exactly are you looking for? You're not pigeonholing yourself into one type of project, but you're just making it very clear exactly what you're looking for. And then not staying in touch is a big mistake that I see so many. If you send out one email or make one phone call and you don't hear back, you're like, that's it, I'll just wait. No, we need to have that system, which we craft and curate in the Luxury Client Academy, where you're continually staying in touch in new and innovative ways. It's not just we're sending an email out every month saying, how you doing? Just checking in. No, there's various forms of ways that we stay in touch, and keeps them on their toes and keeps us really unforgettable, to be honest with you. So what happens when you make that shift, when you're like, I'm not going to only rely on client referrals? And listen, I'm not telling you to not take client referrals. 100%. Do your due diligence. If clients refer other clients to you and they meet the criteria that you want, carry on, take them for sure. I'm just saying that if you want them to be, if you want to have more quality, more quantity, if you want these projects to come at a faster pace than what you've been getting from client referrals, then key vendor relationships is the way to go. So if you were posting on social and doing ads and saying yes to everything that came in because the phone's not ringing as often as you want it to, that's the problem, right? Now, as you start to build those vendor referrals, as you start to nurture those key relationships, you're going to be fielding introductions who's like with clients that the builder's already pre-qualified, already figured out, we already know what kind of project they're looking to do, and they've already said, this is the designer for you. So now you're getting opportunities that start at a higher budget, that are bigger in scope, and are coming, with a few months notice so that you can start to build out that pipeline. So these types of projects are going to bring in higher fees. And now you have a much higher confidence of what you're actually charging and how to go about these projects. You're going to have those clients that have better trust in your process. The cycle of sales, meaning from the time that you get brought in to talk to someone to the time that they sign a project or sign a contract, is much faster. I think it's 3 to 5 times faster than what you would normally say. So this is another great reason to be working with vendors on getting projects. And you get that nice even flow of projects and opportunities in your business because you get, you've got not only one referral source working for you, you've got multiple, right? So you're working a couple different vendors for your business. It's not just one and done, right? We never want to have our eggs all in one basket. And if your eggs have all been in the client referral basket, this is why you're running into issues. So when we go out to vendors and to key partners, and in fact, in the Rapid Referrals Challenge, I'm going to be giving you some non-traditional places that you can be looking for referrals that I know you've never even thought of before. So this is why you need to be in the challenge. Go ahead and sign up with the link down below in the show notes and get your seat because I would love to see your happy shining face there. But I want to give you an example, and I think if you've heard one of the last couple podcast episodes, I think it's episode 112, you're going to hear from Tina, one of my coaching clients, that she was at a point in her business where she had no business coming in and she was really very, very concerned. And we primed that referral pump for her, and she got 5 inquiries in 1 week, and it secured her a $96,000 design fee, her biggest one yet. If you haven't heard that episode, go ahead and check out episode 112. I think you'll like to hear that whole story of how that came about. So I want to do a little exercise with you and just kind of give you some numbers to illustrate the difference between getting a project, maybe a one-off project from a client referral versus using a key vendor relationship. So one strong referral partner can give, let's just conservatively say 2 to 3 projects a year. Let's say your average project is worth $30,000, including design fees and purchases. Let's just lump that all together. If you could get 2 to 3 projects just from one source, that's $60,000 to $90,000 in revenue from just one relationship. Now, you could get one from a client, more than likely one. So that's about 30,000, right? This is 3 times, and just from one source. Of course, we would have multiple sources, multiple irons in the fire, right? We want to have multiple ways that we can get referrals so that we can start having those choices as to the types of projects we take, when we take them, the type of people we work with, all of that. If you're taking a bunch of small projects, which I know if you go back and listen to episode 112, I think Tina mentioned that at one point she had like 23 small projects, which is insane. But let's just do the math on this one. Let's say you have about 15 small projects. So small project for you, let's just say it's $2,500. And if you were to have 15 small projects, that would equate to $37,000, $38,000 in revenue. 15 projects, 38,000. One vendor partner, 60 to 90,000. Now we all know, look, those little projects, lots of details, lots of communication, lots of work. Wouldn't you rather be working on 4 big projects? 6 big projects a year than 23? Yes, please. Think about that. So what's the payoff to having bigger projects, less projects in your world? It goes beyond just making the profits, because of course that is also lovely, is because a lot of the $2,500 jobs, you're not making the amount of money because they're a little more, skittish and harder clients to do, your full markups on, things like that. They're always negotiating and having you run around and maybe provide 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 choices, right? Whereas the bigger projects, there's a lot more decisions. They don't have time to make you run around and do all those things for 100 different decisions, right? So it's a higher profitability, but beyond that, a lot less juggling, all those details, all those different projects, all those different locations, right? And all that stress of just trying to manage all of that and keep it all straight. You're getting more creative fulfillment because you're working on those bigger projects. You feel like you're having a bigger impact. You get to see a bigger transformation at the end. You get to know your clients a lot more fully because these projects take longer. And that is something that makes our designer hearts happy, right? All of those things. You might actually get a little more personal time just so that you don't have to work every night and every weekend. You can spend time with your family. God forbid you should have a life. A lot of clients don't think we should have a life, but we definitely need that time. So here, think about this. As creatives, we need that downtime to recharge that battery, for us to come back and handle all, not only the details that happen, but creatively to have the juices to come up with great ideas for our clients. And the other payoff is that we have the confidence to say no, because we're okay with saying no, because we know there's other projects coming. I think there's such a fear that if we say no to this, then nothing else would ever come behind that project, and that will be destitute. But when we get the machine rolling, we have a lot more confidence that something's coming. Another opportunity is coming my way. And I can have the freedom to turn this one down because I know it's not a good fit. And we know when it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit for anybody because we don't bring our best. The client's kind of, picky to a point where it's difficult, right? And they tend to last longer. So it takes a lot of emotional energy for us to do those smaller projects that aren't really good for us and really not good for the client. So this change of moving to vendor referrals, getting better and bigger projects, taking on less projects has a ripple effect in our business. It gives us more control over your schedule, over your calendar, because now you've only got a few projects going on at once. You're not frazzled running around trying to keep all the balls in the air because you have a much more manageable amount of projects because they're bigger. And you're dealing with, yes, you're dealing with lots of details, but it's not a million different client personalities, a million different style personalities, right? It's just 4 to 6 or 1 to 3, right? You also get this reputation among your vendors as the go-to designer for certain types of clients because you've become very clear as to what you're looking for. And then they know, they have that confidence to send projects your way that really fit into your wheelhouse, into the type of work that you want to do. And those referrals start to take hold and they start to multiply. So you get more and more referrals as time progresses. So you know that client referrals are nice and they're great. They can be great if you know how to say no to the wrong ones and you know how to say yes to the right ones. But they're also like not the end all be all that we all make them out to be. They're nice when they come in and they're good fit, but they're not coming in fast enough. They're not coming in consistent enough. They're not always a good fit for the type of work that we want to continue to do as we grow as designers and as we grow our design business. So if this is you, if the client referrals just aren't working, maybe like they used to, maybe the economy's softening, maybe the clients that you're getting want to do all the work themselves and you really don't want to do that anymore. You want to handle everything from soup to nuts. You want to do those bigger projects, projects that are more than 3-4 rooms. Then you need to be in this Rapid Referrals Challenge. I would love to have you there. I would love to talk about what's going on in your world, what's going on in your own situation, because we're going to have a lot of one-on-one time. It's going to be a small group. So you will get time to ask questions. You'll get time to talk about specifically, like, I have this specific situation, here's what's going on, or I don't know anybody, what do I do? Or I'm getting, referrals from vendors, but they're just not the right ones. We can talk about that too. If you're getting vendor referrals, but they're just not hitting, then we can talk about how you need to look in another place and what you can do about that and brainstorm what that could look like for you so that it will be better for you moving forward. So I hope you guys join me for the Rapid Referrals Challenge coming up September 10th. It's going to be at 12 o'clock Eastern. Plan on spending a couple hours together. We're going to be going over what happens with vendor referrals versus client referrals, and some of the challenges that we all have, what's going on in your own world. I'm going to be providing scripts for you so that you know how to reach out to various different people in your world, whether it's a vendor, whether it's a builder, whether it's a realtor. I'm going to give you those scripts while we're in the room so you can have them forever. And we're also going to be brainstorming how can you reach out to one key person while we're together so you can get that door opened or reopened. Maybe you have somebody that you hadn't talked to in a long time. I can help you craft that message so that it's the most effective, so that it brings a response, so that you can hear back from them. And I would love to see you there. So I hope you guys join me on September 10th. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.